This special call meeting of the Vestavia Board of Education, currently being held not in Vestavia, but on the surface of the sun, apparently given the temperature outside, will come to order. First order of business is to approve the agenda. As seen on the screen. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item would be to approve the minutes from the last meeting, which were distributed beforehand. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Dr. Freed.
Board members, this is the second budget hearing of the two required budget hearings we have. And Ms. Brown is going to bring to you a review of the review you saw 2 weeks ago before I bring a recommendation to you.
Okay. Good afternoon now. Today I'm presenting the FY 2020 budget. This budget, our fiscal year is 10/1 to 9/30, and this budget is prepared with a conservative approach. Revenues have been estimated with a slight increase, and expenditures are based on actual experience and planning with directors and principals. Our FY 2020 budget looks like this. We're going to receive about $38 million from our state foundation allocation. This is from our ETF funds that are allocated to us based on last year's enrollment after the first 20 days of school. We don't budget for federal revenues in the general fund because all of those are reported in the special revenue fund, and those are used for special education and child nutrition programs. Our local revenues are anticipated to be about $40 million, and this is from our ad valorem taxes and a small amount of sales tax that we receive from the city. Our expenditures, we have about 50 million budgeted for instructional services. This is for teacher salaries and other instructional materials. And then we have about 11 million budgeted for instructional support services, and this is for our support staff and any other instructional support supplies that we need, health services, attendance services. Our operations and maintenance budget is about 8.3 million. This pays for our operations and maintenance salaries, utilities, our insurance, maintenance cost, custodial supplies, and our SROs. Our auxiliary services run our transportation program, and that's budgeted to be about $500,000. And our general and administrative expenditures are about 4.4 million, and this includes our central office salaries and benefits, any attorney fees, audit fees, technology services, office supplies, district travel. And then we have budgeted about 1.7 million of capital outlay, and this is purchases that we're going to make with our advancement and technology fund allocation that we received in the amount of 1.9 million. And then we have our debt service payments that are general fund of about 3.3 million. And other expenditures, which this is our allocation for our preschool program for $31,000. And then in our operating transfers in and out, this is transfers in between the schools and the board, and also our transfer out for our CMP pass-through allocation that funds salaries and benefits for our child nutrition program. So that leaves us, it appears to be a deficit of 1.8 million, but because our ETF allocation of 1.9 million came in 2019, but we're not budgeted to spend it until 2020, we really have a slight surplus of about $120,000 this year. And so that means that our beginning fund balance of 14 million includes that ETF allocation of about 2 million. So anyway, we're going to end 2020 with 12.3 million in fund balance. And this represents about 2 months of our fund balance, and the state requires us to keep 1 month. So we're currently above that requirement. This chart just illustrates that we receive 49% of our funding from the state and 51% from our local revenues. And this chart just breaks out our expenditures by function, which is, or in other words, the way that we spend them. So we spend about 75% of our expenditures on instructional purposes, 10% on operations and maintenance, 6% on general administrative cost, 4% on debt service, and 2% on capital outlay and transfers, 1% on transportation. And then this shows it by category. So we spend about 79% in personnel cost, which is our largest item. And then we have 9% in professional services and utilities, 4% materials and supplies and debt service, and 2% in capital outlay and transfers between schools. And that is the summary of our budget. Does anyone have any questions?
None since last time.
Budget, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say, David, you asked last time how our debt load
Yeah.
compared. I did a little research with some similar systems, of our size, and we're at about 6%, and the other systems were like 9 and 11, so we're still really low.
Good. So we're still conservative in that. Yeah. It seemed like it was low.
Yeah.
But thanks for checking on that. Appreciate that.
A couple of points again to reiterate that we are budgeting based on about a 2% local revenue growth, which is, we believe, conservative, but we want to keep it that way. Stay above 2 months as a reserve amidst what has been a large amount of construction that's ongoing. That's pulled a lot of the general fund reserve down, but that was the intention all along, to do that and still be in good shape. So that's one part. We are employing, I believe, give me the right count of teachers locally.
About 66.
About 66 teachers locally, and our budget is about 51% or so local funded. And that is, once again, a great commitment of a city that puts education value at the very top of its priorities. So those are things I want to say. And then just from a commendation to Ms. Brown, this is about an $80 million budget. And by my numbers, Courtney started about 14 months ago and handles this thing masterfully and understands it at a depth that I think is very important for us strategically moving forward, because we're wanting to be careful with how we budget moving forward. And the deep level of understanding that we're needing right now in terms of how we look at departmental budgets and personnel, the continuing increase of cost to operate a system and maintain the level of exceptional product that we produce there requires a lot of forward thinking. So it's been very well developed, and I'm most appreciative. And I know she can't stand when I do this, but I'm really appreciative.
Thank
It's
you.
very good
Yeah.
work.
And I always love that 66 number. That's a great ball field conversation number, is that people wonder, what am I getting for my tax dollars? And, if we had the millage rate that everyone else has, yeah, it's a 66 teachers evaporate immediately, which is
Yes.
significant.
Yes.
So,
All right.
yep. Thank you, Courtney.
All right.
We don't have to approve this now. This is still hearing, correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we're going to move to recommendation. Okay, so we're ready. Okay. So board members, I would recommend that we approve fiscal year 20 budget as submitted.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation around the budget after 2 hearings. Do we have a motion to approve?
So,
Second?
second.
Any additional questions? All in favor? Aye.
All right, 2 other items. One is consent. I recommend the board approve consent items related to out-of-state overnight field trips for Vestavia Hills High School, Liberty Park Middle School, and Cobb Heights.
For the superintendent's recommendation, do we have a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Item 6, I recommend the board approve the personnel action as submitted.
For the superintendent's recommendation on personnel, do we have a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Public comment. Do we have public?
I don't think so.
If you have any comments you would like to make, please link them to the agenda, state your name and residence. There being none, we are adjourned.